Hey everyone, this is another episode. We ear hustling, baby. And tonight, my guest is KP from the Colleagues. He is a producer extraordinaire. He has been doing this for a minute, and I met him, or actually found out about him, through Raheem DeVaughn. So I'm ready to get things started. Thank you for joining me, KP. How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
I am hanging in there. I can't complain.
That's
I,
good.
I have to say that, you know, you never know who you're going to come across. And when I came across you and your production, I was like, where has he been? You know what I mean? And, I know that you've done a lot. So I'm the one that's late to the party. So tell me a little bit about where you're from and how you got started in this music thing.
I'm from Tampa, Florida. Um, how I got started, it's a long. I've always had a love for music. I've always had a love for music. I've always admired the people in the background, the producers. I would say around my sixth grade years when I started having a fascination with who was writing the records, who was producing records. And at the time, I didn't know I wanted to be a producer, but me actually going full fledged with it was basically me playing basketball all my life and realizing I don't think I'm gonna get rich off of this. I don't think I'm gonna take this to the NBA.
Hmm.
So music just kind of came about.
Wow. And so, in those formative years, what were you exposed to at home in terms of music?
My dad, man, my dad was always playing. I just paid attention to what my dad was playing, what my mom was playing. Babyface, they was playing Prince, Michael Jackson, of course. Um, Boys to Men. I just paid attention to everything. Jodeci, and then I started forming my own likes. That's when the Jodeci and all the '90s music started coming around and '90s rap. But it was mostly R&B and R&B music and gospel music. Kirk Franklin, Commission. It was a lot of gospel being played in the house. So and then when I started getting older, I started picking what I like, but I still went back to my roots of what was introduced to me at a young age.
Okay. And you said commission, you just took me all the way. Wow. Like when you think of commission, at least for me, I think about Take Six, right? Um, the harmonies and just, I mean, they were amazing. 90s singers were just something different. I don't care if it was gospel or secular music.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know it brought a different flavor and pizzazz, and just it was just so different. And I know our parents probably say, oh, that was a bunch of nonsense, and the Ohio players were it, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
there's always that generation that each generation experiences music a little differently, basically.
Exactly.
So now talk to me about really getting involved and putting out music and actually getting to sell music. Like, when was the first time you were able to get music sold? And if you remember who it was, and did you get anything really for it?
So the first time we got different levels. The first time just making money, period. I sold it to I don't remember who. It was a white boy rapper,
Hmm.
and my friend introduced me to him, and I made $300 from it, and it was a lot for me. At the time, I never made nothing from a beat, and I took my friends who introduced me to him. I took them out to eat. I think it was like Applebee's or something like that, and I was like, I'm paying for everybody, and I was just happy. My first time selling a record on a professional level was my first major placement, period, and that was to Mano.
Mm.
Mano had a song. The song was called "Get 'Em Tiger," and it was right at the peak of Tiger Woods' sex scandal with all the women, and the song. I'm sure Tiger wouldn't love it, but it was a nice break for me because I was introduced to a lot of people in the music industry,
Hmm.
and I made like 2 grand from that, and which at the time was a lot of money for me. So I once again, I'm always showing love to who put me in position, who made the play for me. So I gave him a little bit of some, and then I remember just going to the bank and getting the rest in ones, and going to my one bed apartment and just throwing the money up.
Hey, listen, I think I probably would have did the same thing. You know what I mean?
Man, I was happy. That was the best feeling, hearing the song on the radio.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot that happened on that one play. Like, it was, and my lawyer, I had my first entertainment lawyer at the time, Michael Katz, and just it was a really good moment for me.
Wow, that had to be a great experience. Now,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about, I'm gonna take it back just a little bit, or maybe in between. Who were the colleagues?
So as of right now, the colleagues is me.
Mm,
But when I got it started, it was me. And then I ended up getting because I always I wanted the colleagues to be like a team that just handled any type of music, no matter the genre. And that was my goal. I didn't want to do anything that was just this sound or just this sound.
hmm.
And I had my boy. I had recruited a couple cats along, and later on they kind of fell off and wanted to do their own thing, and we're all still cool. It took a while for us to get back cool, but you grow, and you're supposed to mature, and we talk, pretty frequently now. But they're all doing their thing now. So, but it's just me right now.
Well, that's great. I mean, I think it's important, sometimes people are on different pages, and life happens and directions change, and it's great that you guys eventually did be able to come back together and still be cool with one another. I mean, you never know what can happen down the line, and maybe there'll be some sort of working together, not necessarily as the colleagues, but just in general. I mean, listen, if everybody can make money and share that money, then why not?
Exactly.
And on the creative side, people have grown, right? So you never know what they can bring to the table after the fact,
Facts.
you know. Now, talk to me a little bit about your preference in terms of the music that you create. Like, obviously, you love R&B. You obviously create and produce hip hop music. Talk to me about, the love for both and which you prefer.
I don't really have a preference of what I produce. I just want it to be. I just want to love it. I just want it to be authentic. I want it to be something that I could listen to. I just don't want to chase any sounds. I've never been into chasing what's hot, the sound that's popping right now, or nothing like that. I just kind of just want to make dope music, because at the end of the day, as a producer, we make so much music that music might not sell. That track might not sell for 5, 6, 7 years, and you want people to come back and still feel like this was made 6 years ago, like, and not feel like, oh, this sounds like something that was made in 2012. Like, I just always wanted to make dope music, and I don't really care the genre, yeah, as long as it's authentic.
Mm, I like that, and I think that that is very important. I've been actually lately been speaking to people who have pulled out music from 10 years ago, and it's popping now. And I think, there's this generation that sort of gets it, where even in the 90s, I don't even think they got that part. Like, there was still a lot of music to me that sounded even older in the 90s than it should have, alongside obviously the great stuff that came out. So it's important to understand, especially in this music industry, what to do, how to do it, really to be multifaceted in that way
Hmm.
you know now,
Yeah.
talk to me a little bit about Louis Sky.
Yeah, Louis Sky. He's a songwriter, and he goes by his songwriting name is Sick Pen. I've been wanting to work with Louis, or Sick, whichever one you want to recall. But I've been wanting to work with him for years, and I just DM'd him and was like, "Hey, can we work? I'm working on the album right now," and he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Cool." So it was the last song that was done on the album, Love, Lust, and Vulnerability. Love,
Mm.
Lust, Vulnerability, and it was ended up being one of my favorite songs on there. Probably my favorite song on there.
Now, who else was on that album?
I got Raheem DeVaughn on the album, Tidra Moses on the album, uh, Devin Culture, Devon Terrell. Am I missing anybody? Lewis Sky. Yeah.
Wow, you got some heavy hitters. Idra, Raheem. I mean, obviously they're well known. Raheem.
Hmm.
Well, first of all, let's talk about Lewis's pen game. Let me take it back a minute.
Hmm.
I Has he written for other people? Because
Oh
this
yeah.
writes, yeah,
Yeah.
I had a feeling is really well thought out. He reminds me to a certain extent of when Neo first came out. Neo was so young, but the stuff that he was writing about was so grown.
Yeah. Yeah. Sick Pen is his game is crazy, and that's why I wanted to work with him. I didn't know that he was putting out music as a solo artist, so it went together perfectly. So like he's trying to come up under that umbrella from people knowing him just as a songwriter. Like, let me get my name out there as well. Hence the separate name. But yeah, his pen game is just ridiculous.
Yeah, and his voice is amazing. I mean,
Yes,
he's it's effortless. Um,
yes.
I have to say, and I started following him on Instagram probably
He
about
has a
hmm.
he has a song called Heal, Heal. It is incredible, and that's what made me be like, oh wow, he's actually releasing music as a solo artist. So listen to that when you get a chance. Lewis Sky Hill, it is incredible. Like that's what gave me the idea for what we did. Like, I was like, this dude is incredible.
I started following him on Spotify, but I haven't gotten through his catalog of stuff yet. So I'll definitely look out for that. But yeah,
Okay,
definitely a distinct voice, a distinct writer. And I see him doing big things real soon.
he's
And
already done big things.
well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, in terms of being an actual vocalist, like
Yeah,
I think he's still going.
yeah,
He hasn't reached his peak as a writer. Oh, forget it.
yeah.
But now Raheem DeVaughn,
Hmm.
incredible, obviously incredible singer, songwriter. Tell me how you met Raheem and how you got him to do this.
Man, me and Raheem's relationship goes back to 2013 or so. I wasn't big on Raheem back in the day. Like, I knew his stuff, but didn't didn't pin a name to it. To be honest with you, I never even told Raheem this. So I hope you don't feel some type of way. But my partner at the time is the one that sent him a record. And one day Raheem calls me. I guess he put my number in the email. So Raheem calls me one day. No, I'm getting ahead of myself. My ex partner, calls me so excited one day, wakes me up. He's like, yo, Raheem DeVaughn just hit me back and said he loves a record. I gave him your number. I'm like waking up, and then I was like, who? He's like, Raheem DeVaughn, man. He just wanted one of the records, man. He said he wants something for the album. And he was just so excited. And I was like, all right, man, just because like I said, I wasn't really big on the music like that. And then uh, I go into the barbershop. I go into the barbershop, and my barber's playing old school music, and then he plays this song, and I'm thinking it's Marvin Gaye. I said, "Man, Marvin Gaye sounds good on this record. I've never heard this." He said, "Man, that ain't Marvin Gaye. That's Raheem DeVaughn." And I said, "It was Bulletproof.
Uh,
Living like a bulletproof,
uh,
baby." I was like, "Oh snap!" And I was like, he just hit up my partner." Then I called my brother. My brother's like, "I've been telling you about Raheem for years. They're telling you need to work with him." And then Raheem calls me. I'm at work. I worked overnight shift, so he calls me, 1, 2 in the morning. I don't know who it is. It's just the LA number. And he was like, "Yo, what's up? This Raheem, da 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 da." And we started talking. He said, "I got a record, man, that is crazy. I wanted to be a single." And he asked me what my prices were. And we just connected ever since then. And he was like, "Send me some more stuff." And I sent him stuff for the album. The album was Love, Sex, Passion. And we ended up having like 4 on that album, and he just kept me in the loop of everything he had going on. We exchanged numbers, and we would just always talk, tell me what he had going on. And every time I sent him stuff, he was just recording. And I was like, man, I kind of figured out his sound like real quick. And then when I did my research on him, well before that, I realized who he was, but I just didn't know the name. But needless to say, we worked together so much, and we done favors for each other. So I know that's one person I can call and be like, "Can I get you on this project?" And he's not gonna ask no questions. He's gonna be like, whatever you need, just let me know. And that record, Love Songs, when the beat was done, like I knew. Matter of fact, before the beat was even done, like I knew, like I wanted to get this to him. And when it was done, man, I must have blew him up for about 3 months to record this record. And I would get on his lives on Instagram, and I would go in the comments and keep like typing like, I need my record, I need my record. And people will be like, hey, KP said he needs his record. But he hit me up, was like, man, I got an idea. You're gonna love it. Trust me, just give me some time. And I'm like, all right. And it ended up being amazing. It's doing really well right now too. So I'm glad I waited and did it. Cause I was like, man, I'm just gonna put this project out. I'll put him on the next one, but I'm glad I waited.
Well, congratulations. I'm glad to hear that is doing good. He was just here in New York. He
Mhm.
performed at Roy Wilkins Park, and I was able to catch up with him a little bit after the show and Boy Soul. And then I also interviewed him not too long ago. So it was great to meet him. I know his father just passed away, so he's in a different space, but he was still very pleasant and very accommodating. So thank you, Raheem. Yes, I have been a fan of Raheem's for a while, and this last album, Lust Till Dawn, man,
Mhm.
the it's his voice, everything from R&B to opera to, I mean, it's just incredible, and his live show is also amazing, and he sounds exactly like the record. So
Yeah.
I'm thoroughly now. Did you have anything to do with that album at all?
Nah.
Okay.
Uh Raheem is always working on something. Whatever you hear, it's already been a couple years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time people heard our album, a lot of them songs was a few years old. Like we already had stuff for the next album.
Mm-hmm.
So with that right there, I think he was, man, I'm always sending Raheem stuff. So it's like we was working on some of his solo projects, and then was working on our joint project. And then in the midst of that, he was working on the Lust to Dawn. So I didn't really know what was, he told me about it, but it was kind of like we had so much other stuff going on together. Then I had my own stuff that it was one of those, it'll be another one, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't tripping on it, but yeah, he's always, that dude is always working on something. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind sending him music, and stuff that I send him, I know I might have to sit on the track for a couple years, because it's like, and I don't do that for everybody, but for him, I know that it's always a plan. Like sometimes you'll record stuff with an artist, and you might have like 10 songs with them, and one might come out, and you might not ever hear the other songs. With me and him, at least with us, I can't speak for every other producer that works with him, but
Right.
for us, every single track that we've done has came out, except for like one, and I think that's because the files got lost. And that was man, what's the guy's name? I'm tripping. Comedian, old school comedian that passed away. He was an activist comedian. I can't remember his name.
Paul Mooney.
No, not Paul. On that level though, I can't remember. I'm gonna come back to it. I'm gonna just blurt the name out. But he did some talking on one of our record, and the files got lost in the computer. So that's the only one that hasn't came out. Everything else is slated to come out whenever it comes out.
Mm, I love it. And so tell me about Teardra Moses.
Tidra, yes, I met Tidra through Raheem, and he called me right after we worked on the first album together. The first, well, not his first album, but the first album that we worked on together, Love, Sex, Passion. He hit me up when he was on tour and said, "Hey, I'm gonna hook you up with Teacher Moses." And she asked me who did a couple of these tracks on my album, and it was y'all. So I'm gonna put y'all together and stuff. And you know what I'm saying? Just don't try to hit over the head price wise. Just look out for it. I'm like, man, I'm happy to be selling beats right now. But and me and Teacher, we connected and we talked, text here and there, sent records, nothing really happened. And that was back in like 2015 or so. So it was just one of those, we followed each other on social media. And I was like, most of the people that I've connected with, I've done favors for in some type of way. So I felt comfortable saying, hey, can you get on this? Whatever, going back to the first album. So with her, she never did nothing for me You know what I mean? Or I never done nothing for her to be asking for a favor. So I was kind of like, I didn't think that she would do it. So I just hit her up. I just went in my stories one day and said, hey, I would love to have Teacher Moses on my next album. And she was like, let's do it. I'm like,
Yep.
okay. And it came together. It it went through its ups and downs, but it came out amazing though. But I learned a lesson about patience working with Teacher though.
Mm. Yeah, everybody has their different style and their quirks and things that they need to have in place. And so
Mhm.
I can only imagine as a producer, just even just dealing with the different personalities. And that's not good or bad. It's just different,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? Um, Now, in terms of the music that you choose to do, um, talk to me about some of the hip hop songs that you've done, and if you've had to turn anyone away.
Turn anybody away.
Mhm.
N-
Like due to maybe
well,
the content of the music or.
nah, never had to turn anybody away. I mean, there's you not sometimes you're not gonna get paid in hip hop, and it's just something that's just you have to get used to fighting for your money.
Mm,
Uh, I worked with Nipsey.
mm,
Um, I worked with Young Dolph. I've worked with T Pain.
mm,
But yeah, I never turned anything away, even if it was approached to me at the time, even if it was approached to me like there's no money involved in this as of right now, but those are come to be some of my bigger situations that's opened up a lot of doors for me. The records that I didn't trip on money, and Nipsey being one of them.
tell me about that.
Um, with Nipsey, my homegirl Sarah J, she connected the whole thing. She sent over some records to Nipsey, and Nipsey just happened to pick one of ours. And this was going back to 20. It came out in 2013, so we're talking 2012 maybe,
Mm,
or early 2013 that the album was being made, the project was being made, and I didn't think it would be anything, so that's why I wasn't tripping on money. It was just one of those. We don't have too much going on right now.
mhm,
Uh, let's just do it. Nipsey might make some noise with it. We just didn't know what it'll do, and it ended up being a huge project. Called it was on the Crenshaw project.
mm,
Nipsey put out the project for $100. He put out the project for $100 a piece, and sold 1,000 copies in a few hours. He went on a world tour from the project, and at first we felt amazing. We didn't care. We weren't tripping on money. But when you start getting those phone calls from everybody saying, "Dang, y'all gonna get some of that money," da, 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 and then it's like, uh, yeah, man, we ain't get nothing from this. When I hit up Nipsey and was like, what's up? We ain't get paid. Can we get something from this? And he said, absolutely not. And it kind of rubbed us the wrong way at first. But then I was like, you know what? Let's just work. Let's just focus on the blessings that's coming from this, and not focus so much on the money. Because at the end of the day, 1,000, 2,000, it ain't gonna change our lives right now. So let's just focus on the phone calls that we're getting. Because I met Raheem right after the Nipsey. I
mm.
met a lot. I started working with a lot of the T Pain happened right after the Nipsey. So it's kind of like I felt like a lot of things kind of steamrolled that whole situation. So we wasn't tripping on money. And honestly, I just did an interview on ESPN like a week or two ago, and told this story and said it hasn't came out yet, but ironically, Nipsey's team hit us up. So I don't know what's going on. I can't really say it right now, but hopefully some something great happens from us. Not tripping all these years. You know what I mean? But yeah, it ended up being a huge blessing.
I was going to say, look at God, right? Because
Yeah.
you could have done a lot of things. You could have badmouthed him. You could have, said, hey, he's not the one to work with. He don't pay. Like you could have done a lot of things, and instead you just refocused. Um, and I think a lot of people in general that are in this music business, they don't know how to do business sometimes, and they've worked in their mind so hard that they're not really ready to give someone a piece. So at the end of the day, I think, at least from the Nipsey that I started following, it seemed like he um, sort of discovered himself a few years later in terms of who he was. And maybe things would have been different at that point in his life. But either way, you guys made some noise. And the
Yeah.
fact that you just were able to speak on ESPN about it and get that whole tribe to now pay attention again is very, very interesting. I would love to see what happens with that for you.
Yeah, me too. I'm still waiting.
Yeah,
we we got attorney now, so things are, I got attorney now, so things are different. But hopefully everything works out, but like you said, like I don't try to focus on what it could be, what it's not. Man, at the end of the day, I'm just, I still feel like that 12-year-old kid, that wanted to do music, and I try to remember. I don't. I Of course I want to. I have to make a living off of it, but at the end of the day, I still do this because I love it, and I try to focus on the blessings that's coming from it. And at the time, I didn't know what was going to happen from this. And now I remember when I used to talk to people and they'd be like, "What you got coming up? What you working on?" I just did something with Nipsey Hustle. And Nipsey at the time, it was like before the project came out, people was like, some people would be like, oh, okay, cool. Oh, I like him. Or some people just like, oh, okay. Now, when I do interviews, that's the first thing I want to talk about is Nipsey.
mm,
Nipsey. Did you see him? Did you talk to him? How was he like? Da 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 da. So it ended up being a thing that literally changed. Something on my resume that literally changed my life, that I feel like they're gonna be talking about him years down the line, like how they talk about Pop.
absolutely. Absolutely. I know I believe his birthday just passed.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yeah, I'm a Leo too. So I'm aware and I was like, wow, I can't believe he's gone. But he left a legacy and he left some really powerful stuff for people to hold on to. So now, how did you end up on ESPN?
My boy is Vince Carter, and he has his podcast or radio show through the ESPN networks. Him and Gold Unwitty. I'm sorry, Roz, but he got a show with her, so he hit me up like, "Hey, I did the intro music for that as well." So he was
Okay.
like, "Hey, can we get you on the show, talk about your music and everything?" And it hasn't came out yet, so but it was a really really dope interview. We were supposed to be talking about music and sports, and we ended up talking about manifesting and faith and blessings, and it went a whole different route. So it was a really dope one.
That's dope. Shout out to Vince Carter. Man, listen, I need to hang out with you. You know what I mean? That's incredible. And I think from what so far while we've been talking, it just seems to me like you're a really humble person. And not that you haven't made mistakes or that you haven't done anything wrong or that you're this perfect angel, but it sounds like to me that whatever lessons you learned early on have taught you to be humble and to be patient and to understand that things happen when they're supposed to happen.
Yeah, I feel like humble is, I don't even like calling myself humble. But for the argument's sake, like just, I feel like I have to be, because at the end of the day, I know where my blessings come from. None of this happened. Nothing in my career and my life happened because me being a good person or me anything. Is really from the grace of God. So I try to just remember that. And some people are not as fortunate, and that doesn't mean that they're not as good, you know what I mean? But I just try to make sure that I'm trying to help people out like how I was helped out. And I just try to make sure that I'm just giving all glory to God, because I this literally has nothing to do with me. People responding to me, Nipsey hearing my beat over thousands of beats he's probably received. This has nothing to do with my stuff being the best or our stuff being the best. That was all God. So
Mm.
I never take credit for that.
Yeah, it was preordained. And I think, again, for lack of a better term, being humble and having humility and understanding, uh, I think it keeps you focused. You know what I mean? You have something to lean on, which is your faith. and it allows you to breathe a little easier. I mean, I think there are a lot of artists, musicians, producers who are out here um, struggling to get themselves heard or their music heard, but their intent is a little different. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And things happen for a reason. And like I said, I like the fact that you're clear on that. Um, one of my experiences is even doing these interviews. I waited until I turned a certain age to decide, all right, you've been fronting on this, just go ahead and do it. And I jumped. And it has been an amazing experience meeting people like yourself, Raheem. I just talked to Brady Watt yesterday, Eric Roberson, all these people who have been in the industry, and they don't have to talk to me, and I've just reached out like just like you did, and they've said yes. So I think, it's about perspective. you know
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit about working with T-Pain, because he seems like he is a ball of fire.
T Pain, that one went that came through my boy Vaccine. Um, he set up the whole thing, sent over some beats to T Pain, and T Pain liked them. I did the record with my ex partners, of course, but my boy Tyler Ron just co-produced Normani and Cardi B record. But this was back in 2014, 2015 or so.
Hmm.
But but yeah, that we didn't know what T Pain was gonna do on the record because that wasn't a situation where I was talking to T Pain or anything like that. But we didn't know what he was gonna do. We didn't know if he was gonna get the singing T Pain. We didn't know if he was gonna get the rapping T Pain, and we got the rapping T Pain. But it was dope because he had Young Cash on there, who's
Mm.
one of his partners, and he had Sean J. So in the South, Field Mob was back in the day, early 2000. Like Field Mob was one of the best groups. You know what I mean? Next to Goody Mob, Outkast, all that stuff. But Field Mob was up there. So to have Sean J on the track was like I felt like a teenager again. Like, yo, this is dope. So, but it ended up being a dope record. It's not on streaming platforms though. It's only on like YouTube because it's before streaming. So I'm still I try to tweet T Pain and be like, yo, can you please put this on streaming platforms? Not even for like money's sake. It's just for like I want to be able to ride around to it. I don't listen to YouTube when I'm driving. So but yeah, I actually really love that record. It's called
Mm,
Trust Issues.
man. So who do you want to work with that you haven't worked with yet?
Yeah. Stevie Wonder,
Mm,
Beyonce, of course, Kendrick Lamar, Music Soul Child, um,
yes.
Andre 3000.
Ah, I love Andre.
Um, those are up there. I would love to work with Future.
Mm. Really?
Uh, yeah.
What do you like about Future? I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like that at all. I really.
Future just few you make a record with Future, you cool with all the kids, you know what I mean? So, Future just make real good club music. I'm not gonna say I sit and just vibe with the Future all day, every day, but he does make some jams that I'd be like, yo, this is dope. But I just want to make just I mean, there's so many people I could keep going on and Drake. I could keep going on and on. Of course, you always gonna hit the people at the top, but when I say people like Babyface, I don't know how I forgot him, but when I say people like Babyface, not saying he isn't popping, but people expect you to say the Beyonce, Drake, Kendricks, stuff like that. But when I hit them with a Music Soul Child, they be like, "What? That's one of your top?" Like, yes, that's one of my top. I love Music Soul Child. Like I love Music Soul Child.
I have all of his CDs. Um, when he came out, I was just like, wow.
I'm
And then
a
I saw him perform at SOBs with the group. I think Aries is the name of the group. Female.
mhm,
I think they're sisters. Um, and I was just so impressed.
mhm.
You know, um, I've been lucky enough to see a lot of folks before they actually blew up, and those experiences will never ever leave me. I can only imagine, working with all these different folks, you know, the memories and the things that you retain from them.
Yeah. Well, while we're on the music topic, my first weekend of I live in Atlanta, so the first week or two that I lived in Atlanta, music was throwing a birthday party, and he was throwing a birthday party, and I saw Raheem was supposed to be there performing.
Mm.
And I never do this, but I was just like, you know what? Let me just see if I can ride with Raheem, because that's how much I wanted to try to, get in with music, see if I can slide some beats. I put some beats on the flash drive, and I was like, let me just see what's up. So I hit up Raheem like, yo, can I roll with you to the party? And he was like, yeah, just meet me at the hotel. I'm like, all right, cool. And I met him at the hotel. We get to the party, and T Pain pulls up in this Rolls Royce, this huge Rolls Royce. And then music pulls up. So then we like standing outside the party before you enter. There's me, my partner at the time, Raheem, West Felton, and
West.
yeah, and Music Soul Child. So we just sitting there. He's like, "Yo, you gotta work with my man KP, man. Like colleagues, man. Like, hey, they live in Atlanta. Nice. Oh, you live in Atlanta? I'm like, yeah. He's like, all right, hey, get my number from Raheem. Like, we gotta connect. I'm here in Atlanta too. I'm like, all right, cool. I blew Raheem up for that number. Like, bro, he was like, oh, I gotta find it, bro. And I'm like, dog, how do you? I was so mad, but I'm like, I kept pressing him for it. I'm just like, man, never got the number. We never worked, but it's just one of those. Like, I know I have music soul child. Like, I know, like I know his sound. Like, once I lock in with the artist, as much as I do,
Mhm.
with even if it's just a couple times, but if I lock in with you and I really like your music, I can nail your sound all the time, and I can figure out ways to take you away from your sound, but still make it something what you would do.
Mm.
Like Raheem, we worked together so much because I locked in what he likes.
Mhm.
It's all about what's the main thing that he really, really likes, and then just sprinkling your style on top of all that stuff, but still giving him what he really wants. So it's like someone like a music who I got 50 song playlist of him that I created of just all his songs. Like I know what I could deliver with something like, with him.
It's
And
coming.
anybody else that I want to work with.
It's coming. It's coming
I
when
know.
it comes. That, these are stories, man, that not too many people get to talk about. And the blessing in it all is that you've made first contact, and I feel like that in itself speaks volumes, because now that whole energy and vibe is there. You know what I mean? Who knows what happens?
It's gonna happen, and we're gonna come right back to this interview. I
Yeah.
believe, like I said before, I believe in manifesting and saying. And my whole career has been me speaking out loud what I wanted to do, and even if it didn't happen for years, it always come to pass. So it's like I know it's gonna happen one of these days, and it might be on one of my records. So who knows?
Mm-hmm. Now, tell me a little bit about, you, and in terms of being a producer. But do you sing? Do you rhyme? Do you tell me a little bit about that?
I grew up wanting to be a rapper. I don't rap. I grew up wanting to be a rapper. That's how the whole thing even started. And I don't sing.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to sing good enough to where an artist can get the point. Be
Mm-hmm.
like, nah, let's try it like this and this and this. But I wouldn't never call myself a singer, but I know how to get my point across. But yeah, that was me wanting to be a rapper was what started this whole thing back in '96.
Mm. And yeah, so you can do reference vocals if you need to, so people can follow along.
I wouldn't even do reference vocals. Reference vocals, as far as like a whole song, I'm talking about like a line. like,
Oh,
uh I could
gotcha,
say certain things like, no, say this, but I wouldn't go through and reference a whole record. Like that's just too much work.
gotcha. What about Mary?
Mary J. Blige. Do I want to work with her?
Like, what would you think about working with her? She has many
Yeah.
different. Mm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. We had some records with Mary, me and Raheem, that Raheem wrote. And how can I say this without getting myself in trouble? Like she was at a point in her life, um, and some people came in and kind of messed that up. So during a certain part of her life,
Mhm.
so. But yeah, that was all through Raheem. Raheem wrote. We had like three or four, and I believe two were like supposed to be the ones.
Mm.
I was supposed to go to LA, and when she cut the records, and then it's just the whole thing fell apart. And I still don't really know what happened. I just know Raheem was like pissed.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I not I think I know, but you know what? Again, that happened for a reason too.
Yeah,
You
yeah. I'm
know.
not. Yeah, I don't cry over spilled milk. It might hurt at the time, but
Right. Right.
it happened for a reason, though.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me about, excuse me, what you're working on now, what you plan on releasing anytime soon, maybe before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year, let's see. I've already did a jazz project with Vandell Andrew.
Mm,
Um, I met him once again through Raheem.
mhm,
Raheem's a part of that project as well. We got some jazz records. It's a jazz record. We got some featuring him, Guapale. Um, that's gonna be a nice project. So we still haven't tied it all the way up, but it's pretty much there. We've been waiting for Raheem to kind of put some bells and whistles on some stuff, but he's been tied up on tour, and then his pops just passed away. So it's kind of like, that's probably going to be a 2023 release. Not probably, it's more than likely going to be a 2023 release. I'm working on all kind of different songs to put out with all kind of different artists. I'm still pushing this Love, Lust, Vulnerability album. Um, Let me see. I've got a few things. Some of them I can't really talk about, but I
mhm.
have a few that's supposed to happen in 2023.
Okay. So now this most recent album, are there any visuals for any of the songs?
Not as of right now. Me and Raheem talked about doing love songs. Because he actually wants to put that on his album, his next album as well. Because we knew we both loved the song when we did it, so we might do a visual. Who knows? He
Mm,
says that a lot, so we'll see.
yeah.
But thinking about trying to do a visual to the record with Louis Sky.
Mm,
So I'm sorry, I went mind blank. The record with Louis Sky. I'm gonna probably try to do a video with that one as well.
mm. Yeah, I think,
Invested, Jesus.
people are always looking for something to go with, whatever it is. And I think for me personally, I prefer to enjoy the song without the visuals first.
Mhm,
I like to absorb it in that way because you look at the visuals and they can either help or hurt the song. So if I
mhm.
want to have a genuine feel and a genuine like for the song, I don't want to be swayed by a visual. And that's just me.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people are expecting to see things. And even now, it's so hard. And I just said this yesterday, people aren't really buying albums that much anymore. Now it's with streaming, it's like you can just pick the song you want and that's it. How does that work for you? Like what is that how does that impact you if it impacts you at all?
As far as people streaming not versus not buying it,
Or buying it, even yeah, downloading an entire album versus singles.
yeah, that's why I re-released it. I put out the album, and then I re-released everything as singles, just in case people pick up the singles and don't pick up the album. Just another way of marketing it and everything. I'm a huge fan of streaming, so and I saw this early on when the industry was really trying to fight it, and it was really trying to make it more about CDs and kept pushing CDs, and I was like, this would be really good, if streaming can come along. And I didn't know streaming would be where it's at now. Like, you're literally streaming music no matter how you look at it, whether you're in your car, on Sirius radio, or you're streaming it through your phone, or when you're in the TV, I mean a movie theater and they got music playing, like it's always music streaming.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about when stuff was on CDs, when I buy your CD and I play it over and over in the car and I leave it on replay at night, you're not getting nothing extra than that 14.95 or however much I paid for that CD. That's
Mm-hmm.
it. Only other time you're gonna get money from me is if I buy it again, or if I come pay to see you perform. But with music streaming, somebody can get the urge to be like, I want to listen to this song real quick, and I haven't heard it in a while, and then they could just start listening to it. And yeah, it's not much, but there's people all over the world that's always trying to listen to your music. It's some just get more than others. You know what I mean? But when I remember, like I'm very big on my statistics. I'm looking at my statistics and seeing who's streaming it, how many times they're streaming it. And when you see your stuff getting streamed in different countries you never been to, stuff that you know you didn't market it to, and you see all over the United States in these little towns, and he's just like, how do these people find this stuff? You know what I mean? And they keep listening to it over and over again. You just finally got 100,000 streams in China, and it's just like, who do you know in China? But that's the beauty of streaming, is like, to get your stuff over there, your CDs over there in China or some other country, like, it was expensive as hell to put out a CD.
Mm-hmm.
So I love the fact, even though, so, and some people still go back and buy it on iTunes, you know what I mean? So, but I'm very cool with the streaming because it's only going to get better, and it's already improving, and they're already increasing the rate on what producers and writers and get off of strong off of streams and stuff. So I love it.
It's interesting because I was going to ask you about that, because if you think about the analogy you gave is great, right? So you have a CD that you buy for 14.95. That's it, one and done. But then if you are subscribing to Spotify or iTunes, isn't it kind of similar? Because now you
Well,
all this stuff for for one.
well, I don't know how that stuff works as far as like the membership fee and you're paying. I don't know how that stuff works. I just know the money goes to the Spotify, the Apple, all that stuff. And when the stream goes, it goes to them, and then they're the ones that's responsible for paying the labels or paying the companies or whatever. And then it breaks down to us, whatever. But yeah, I don't know how that. I don't know. Clearly, it's worth it for them to be, still just selling, memberships for $9.99 or whatever, however much it costs. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
it's well, the difference is that it's a monthly bill as opposed to, like you said, the 114.95. And I also know that because I work with an artist who puts most of his stuff on Bandcamp. Um, how do you feel about Bandcamp?
Yeah, I don't get why people do that, because they want to be able to, like, I want to make my money and sell it and get people to. It's like, why not make it available to everybody, on all these different platforms? And then when you put it up on these platforms, when there's new platforms that come around,
Mhm.
your music, gets integrated into their system as well. But just putting it on Bandcamp and making everybody go to this one link. If you send me a Bandcamp link, I automatically think you don't care about your career. It's like, you just care about getting paid. Why not make this available to everybody?
That's interesting. I mean, my artist does both. He does Bandcamp and the digital um, stuff, and I don't know. I'm torn because I think that with Bandcamp, yeah, you see more of your money and you see it more immediately. And you also have the opportunity to sell merch and all this different stuff. And with the streaming, also the benefits there, right? Where, yeah, everybody has access to it. I think it should be a balance of both, but that's just me. Um,
Yeah,
sometimes you need some exclusivity. And I think Bandcamp offers that to a certain extent. I'm not saying everything needs to go on Bandcamp, but I do think if you have something that's special or maybe a little different for your audience, especially if you have a great following on Bandcamp, they will interact with you and they will purchase just about any and everything you put out. So I think it's a balance between the two. But I hear what you're saying as
yeah,
well.
yeah. I definitely believe that. As far as your hardcore followers are really gonna rock with you, and you can definitely sell merch. You don't have to be on Bandcamp.
No, it's
Uh, but I do agree with the whole, if you want to do something exclusive, it can be, you know, it don't necessarily have to be Bandcamp, but I get what you're saying. It can be on something separate than where everybody else can get it. Some people do their own websites. Some, there's other ways that you can do it. But I'm
yeah.
just talking about the people that just only want to put their stuff on Bandcamp, and then, like, I had a dude, I won't say his name, but you wouldn't know him anyways, but he hit me up as a whole old friend from back in the day. He hit me up and said, "Hey, I just released my new project." I said, "Okay, I'm about to go look it up now." Nah, I'm selling it to you, everybody, for $5. So if you really rock with me, then buy it. Dang, now I felt like I had to buy it.
Yeah.
I bought it for $5. This dude sent me a email through Gmail, every single track separated, track one, track two. Didn't tell me the names, nothing. And I'm like, no way. And then he was like, yeah, it's on my Bandcamp as well, but I sent you the physical copy. bro, I got to go through my email to listen to this,
Yeah.
and then like I made $3,000 from selling this and stuff. So my people that's rocking with me really gonna rock with me, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but after now when they listen to it, like you got $3,000 up front, but it's just like okay, cool, but you still didn't put it on your. I'm gonna put it on the streaming platforms later on. It's just some people just think backwards, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and streaming, yeah, it's slow money, but at the end of the day, it's just one of those. If you just keep working the record, you just never know. You
Well,
know,
yeah,
I
slow and steady.
yeah, slow and steady wins the pace. Oh,
That's
slim wins the game race.
great. But I knew what you meant. But you're right. I think, people are so confused about even what to do and how to in this new world, if you will. And so they'll try a little bit of any and everything without really understanding, you know, what they're doing. It's like they're throwing the kitchen sink at everything. And anytime I come across people like that, I've had people do similar things and send me things, and I'm just like, I'm not even opening it.
Yeah,
Because now, if I wanted to click 15 times to get to something, then I would do that. I don't want to do that in this day and age. And this day and age, everything is about instant gratification, right? We want it like this. So
exactly.
why would I spend time opening 15 different tracks unless you're Kendrick Lamar or
I
Beyonce?
don't care if it's Kendrick Lamar or Beyonce.
Listen, I'm not gonna lie. You Beyonce and Kendrick send me something this fit, I will
Oh
open
yeah,
it.
if they sent it to me,
Right.
but I'm
That,
just saying, like, just
that's
if you're
not
gonna make it difficult for me to listen to the music, I don't want to listen to it.
Yeah, no, I'm saying if they sent it to us directly and were like, we're picking 15 people to listen to this, and oh, hell yeah. But in general, no. I feel like I'm beating my head against the wall.
Yeah, and there's no right or wrong way.
No.
That's a lot of people don't understand in this type of industry.
Mhm.
There's literally no wrong or right way, but we do know when something is just, and that's I don't think that's gonna work.
Right, exactly. Well, hopefully he's learned from then, and he's a little more successful in terms of putting his stuff out now. But you know what? I just feel like there's going to be so many more twists and turns with this music stuff that they haven't
Yeah.
even started. So we'll see what happens. So now I just wanted to, number one, say thank you for granting me this interview. I know that you're busy and that you're working on things. You've got wife, baby. So I appreciate you taking the time out. Is there anything that you wanted to share with the audience before I wrap things up?
Please go out there and stream on whatever platform. Love, lust, vulnerability. And copy some merch.
Uh-oh.
Link is in my bio. That's the merch for the album. And yeah, please stream my old music too.
I, okay, I'm gonna get a T. You got smalls, right? You see how skinny I am. I need some.
Yeah, definitely got a small.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and check it out. For those of you who are watching, I thank you for your time this evening. You could have been anywhere, but you're here with me because we ear hustling, baby. My guest KP, thank you again so much for joining. And again, if you know me, you know I'll be back and I'll have some more interesting guests, just like KP. I bring things a little differently. So stick with me and I'll see you guys soon. Have a good one. Peace.